Shanti Shanti Harihi Om Tats Om Stapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been discussing various topics taken from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today's topic I have chosen, realizing the true I. A person is said to be in bondage because of his false I. False pride. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, as long as one is full of pride, he cannot be freed from bondage. So he has to get rid of pride if he has to free himself from bondage. So, I, capital I, plays very important role in everyone's life. It pervades all expressions. It stands for knowing, feeling, willing, and acting at every level. I am what I am. If I is so pivotal to all existence, why do all religious masters look at the I sense with horror? Why does every religious system ask us to suppress the I? They ask us to destroy this I, to flee from this. Why are I and mine so taboo? Sri Shankaracharya calls the I sense, or ahankara in Sanskrit word, a ghora sarpa, a venomous snake. He compares it Bhoktra gale kandakavat pratitam. Shankaracharya compares I to a thorn stuck in the throat of the eater. And the Gita in the 13th chapter prescribes as one of the requisites of the earnest aspirant anahankara, that is freedom from the I sense. It sounds a paradox, reminding us of Lord Christ saying, "He that loseth his life shall find it." The fact is that the apparent contradiction arises from a misidentification, or rather a series of misidentifications. I, though singular, is multi-veiled. It comes to us mantled in a thoroughly deceptive pile of garbs. The real I is enwrapped in 5 sheets. It is embedded in a triad of bodies. Unless these coverings and containers are removed, the genuine I cannot be apprehended. So in order to realize the true I, who am I? In order to realize that, one has to remove all the coverings. Then one would be able to realize. When one realizes that, then he gets into samadhi. So the real I is Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. But varieties of name and form are superimposed on it, obscuring its real nature. So, the genuine I, also called Atma in the Upanishad, has to be separated from the non-I, that is Anatma, like drawing out dexterously the stalk from the munja grass. So, I talked about the 3 coverings of the real I, which is in every one of us. The first one is visible one, that is Sthula Sharira, the gross physical body. It is through its sense organs that we experience the world. We attribute the properties of this body to ourselves and say, I am tall, I am short, I am dark, I am fair, I am fat, I am lean, and so on. We don't remember that these contingent attributes do not inhere in our real nature. The very statement, my leg or my arm, shows that I am different from the leg and the arm. If a leg is lost, I do not cease to be. Yet how much of time, how much of energy, and how much of money we spend on nurturing and embellishing this physical body. Shiryate iti shariraha. The body is that which undergoes deterioration. It's a perfect illustration of the second law of thermodynamics, which tells us that the passage of time is marked by the progressive degradation of orderliness. The scriptures compare the body to a house occupied by a householder. The diseases and other tribulations that assail us are the rents and taxes that have to be necessarily paid by the occupier. When a house gets dilapidated, we quit it. We get out of the house. Similarly, the body that we happen to have at present is only a temporary possession to be vacated when the demand comes. When death comes, that means the time has come to vacate this body. Even though you want to hold on, you are simply pushed out of the body. Nobody wants to die, but everyone has to go. That's the Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vasam se jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnan anyani sanyati navani dehi. Very nicely how the philosophy has been brought about in this verse by Lord Krishna is very significant. It compares, the Bhagavad Gita compares the body to the clothes in which we dress ourselves. When the clothes become worn out, they have to be discarded and new ones put on. It's just like that. We have to remember that our present body is a result of our previous karma and is given to us in order that we may work out the prarabdha. The famous scripture Panchadashi, composed by Vidyaranya, it says, Bhogayatanam Shariram. The body is for the bhoga, or experiencing out of our karma. If we realize this, we shall not have so much attachment to this cage of skin-covered bones, but shall joyfully give up the present body for a newer one that the Lord invariably supplies. Death, which is considered the greatest terror, Mahat Bhayam, shall lose its sting. Life is an ongoing concern, and the eye does not cease to be with the shuffling off of this particular mortal coil. We shall pass on from body to body till the karmas are worked out, and there is no need for embodiment anymore. Till then we have to keep on coming back and forth. To identify ourselves totally with the present body and consider its vicissitudes as our own is to lose sight of the goal of life and get entangled in the maelstrom of samsara. Sri Shankaracharya warns us that seeking fulfillment relying on the body is like trying to cross the river seated on a crocodile. No doubt the physical body is indispensable. It is an instrument with which our salvation has to be worked out. Shariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. The body is a primary requisite for the spiritual life. But he also underlines that the body has no intrinsic worth except as the handmaid of spirituality. The body is to be praised in the measure it enables us to live the good life. Like a ladder, it has to be used to take us above it. When realization dawns, pride in one's body drops away, even like the garment slipping down from the loins of a drunkard. Chance, another name for prarabdha, brought the body by and chance takes it away. This gross body is also called the Annamaya Kosha, the sheath of food. It is to be constantly fed by food, then only the body is maintained. If a person is not eating properly, within a short time he becomes famished, he loses weight, and he loses all energy. He cannot function. Just as fuel enables the fire to burn, this Annamaya Kosha, the gross body, enables the eye to shine. Within this gross body, the second covering is the subtle body. It can be conceived of as comprising 3 sheets. The subtle body consists of 3 sheets. One is Pranamaya Kosha, sheath of vital air. The Manomaya Kosha, or the mental sheath. And the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the sheath of intelligence. So these 3 constitute the Sthula Sharir. Prana is the source of all energy. It can be equated with vitality. Its malfunction leads to disease and death. But more important than it is the Manomaya Kosha. The mind, in fact, rules the roost. Man is defined as characterized by meditation. Mananat Manavaha. The mind is the seat of all our awareness. It is because of the mind that we know and feel, will and act, desire and desist, are happy or miserable. All this is because of the mind. So mind is responsible for one's bondage as well as one's liberation. So you must know how very important role is to be played by mind. If a person is really struggling for freedom, it goes without saying that one should definitely have his mind controlled. So when the mind functions, the world presents itself to us in all its multifariousness. When the mind becomes quiet, the world ceases to exist for us. It is the mind that declares, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. He who sows must reap. The mind that takes pride and in being the actor must naturally experience the results of those actions. Thus arise all the so-called pleasures and pains. It is only the sense of doership that brings us joy and sorrow. In Adhyatma Ramayana, Lakshman makes this point very clear to Guhaka, a tribe's leader. He tells him, none gives us joy or sorrow. It is folly to imagine that someone else gives them to us. Vaingloriously we think, I am doing. The world is but a tangled tale issuing from such self-conscious action. That's why Bhagavad Gita directs our attention to that which is superior to the mind. Manasastu para buddhihi. You have to rise above the mind. What is it that is above the mind? Buddhi, intellect. Intellect is higher than the mind. The sankalpa, vikalpa, that is the oscillations of the mind, can be brought to rest only through the exercise of the discriminative intelligence. The buddhi has to analyze carefully and distinguish the nitya from the anitya, the eternal from the transitory, the drik and drishya, the subject from the object. So the intellect is the censor or judge who assesses things diligently and like the fabled swan separates the milk from the water. Hence it is that in the Bhagavad Gita so much emphasis is laid on the buddhi, buddhi yoga. That is the way of discrimination for communion with the Supreme. Lord Krishna exhorts Arjuna buddhau sharanamanvichcha. Take refuge in discrimination. It is true that the I reflected in the buddhi is less impure than the I that pervades the mind. But reliance on the buddhi, intellect, does not solve the problem completely. After all, human intelligence is narrow, limited, partial, fragmentary. It can't grasp the totality of reality. Hence, the aspirant who wants to get rid of the false aham, that is I, has to go beyond the intellect. This is what Lord Christ means when he says, the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. The spirit giveth life. We have to realize that essentially we are the spirit, and only as a spirit can we function integrally. Lord Krishna underlines the same truth when he counsels Arjuna. Lord Krishna said, Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhihi tada yogam vapsyasi. When your intelligence, which is perplexed by hearing diverse varieties, becomes steady and unwavering in samadhi, then shall you attain yoga. True communion with real is not an intellectual apprehension, but a spiritual mergence. The analytical intellect has to come to realize its finitude and surrender itself to the infinitude of the spirit. Thus, passing beyond the manomaya kosha, the next sheath is vijnanamaya kosha, which also has to be transcended for entry into the anandamaya kosha. The three koshas, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, together constitute sukshma sharira. The gross body is called sthula sharira. Now, just now we have talked about gross body and subtle body, sthula sharira and sukshma sharira. But there is one that is subtler than the sukshma sharira, and that is called karana sharira, supporting the anandamaya kosha. While the gross body function in the state of jagrat or wakefulness, the subtle body functions in the dream state of swapna. When we dream, the aham, the I consciousness, manufactures a whole world of its own without the aid of any of the external senses or sense objects. Here we can see the aham playing a double role as a subject or experiencer and the object or what is experienced. But in that state of deep sleep characterized by the karana sharira and the anandamaya kosha, we have no apparent awareness. After getting out of the sleep, we say, oh, I slept happily. I had a very good sleep, knowing nothing. This sleep state is the bijavastha or seed form of the aham. It is quiescent like a seed buried in the soil. When the seed gets its nutriments like water and fertilizer, it sprouts and grows into a huge tree. Similarly, the aham, resting during sleep, sprouts into multitudinous world awareness when it slips back into wakefulness. It is to be noted that though there is freedom from misery in the sleep state, there is no awareness at that time that we are happy. Ignorance covers the bliss. That's why this state is equated with avidya. Swam apiti iti swapiti. Sleeping is resting in oneself. Only one is not aware of this restfulness. To become fully conscious, one has to go beyond the 5 koshas and the 3 states. It is not possible to describe in words the nature of that state which transcends all the other states and subsumes them. It is called Turiya, the 4th state, not because it is something apart from the states we are familiar with, but because it is a reality that pervades all of them and sustains them. Shankaracharya says, Asti kaschit swayam nityam aham pratyaya lambanam. There is something indescribable which is of its own nature, eternal, and the real source and basis of I-ness. It is self-luminous, requiring validation from nothing external. That state of samadhi, a profound equipoise, vibrates with the consciousness of Soham, that I am. That awareness is the real I, devoid of all limitations. The scriptures try to explain it to us, employing the inadequate terms, Satchidananda. The state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, however, is not the end of the journey. Sri Ramakrishna has clearly pointed out how after attaining the summit, a Vijnani comes down by the command of the Divine Mother to the plains to give a helping hand to those climbing upwards. Sri Ramakrishna explains how while most of the realized souls, also called Jiva Kotis, find satisfaction on the summit and choose to remain there, a few come down for helping humanity. That's how we find Mahatmas, incarnations, holy people coming again and again to help the humanity rise up. Sri Ramakrishna calls these Vijnanis Ishvara Kotis or Adhikarika Purushas. Of course, incarnations are quite distinct from these Ishvara Kotis. Incarnations are the forms of the Divine Supreme. So, these Ishvara Kotis who come to help the humanity, these Vijnanis, they are the ambassadors of the Divine, and there is no question of personal salvation for them. They don't aspire for their personal salvation. We are told that when Buddha had his illumination under the Bodhi tree, the path was open to him to embrace complete nirvana. He could have merged himself totally, completely. He didn't have to come back to normal state at all, but he opted for the Bodhisattvahood, moved by great compassion. So for the next 6 decades, Buddha was a wanderer over the land, mixing with prince and peasant, spreading the good news of the way in which sorrow can be overcome. Sri Ramakrishna narrates a parable to illustrate this. It is in the Gospel. There was a certain area enclosed by high walls. Sounds of singing and dancing were being wafted from the enclosure. The men passing that way could only halt a while and wonder, what is this beautiful music, so melodious we are hearing? But one man succeeded in climbing the wall and looking inside what was going on. He was so much astonished by what he perceived that he just explained awe and jumped into the wall. Seeing this, another individual also climbed the wall. He too saw what was going on inside. He also uttered awe and jumped in. But a third one, after climbing the wall and seeing what was going on inside, resisted the temptation to follow the other two. What he did was, he did not jump inside. On the other hand, he climbed down to tell the other passers-by who are not in a position to climb about the wonders beyond the wall. This third man, Sri Ramakrishna calls Vijnani, who foregoes his personal salvation in order to help others achieve the summum bonum of existence. It is in this sense that Lord Krishna holds forth the example of King Janaka, who continued to rule an empire after attaining realization. The question may be asked, how life in the world is possible without egoism? Sri Ramakrishna replies that no doubt an ego is necessary, but the ego of the Vijnani is qualitatively different from the ego we are familiar with. He speaks of the Paka Ami, or ripe ego, as distinguished from the Kacha Ami, or unripe ego. Ripe ego, unripe ego. Nicely explained in the Gospel. Please go through that. The ripe ego of the Vijnani has been given to him by the Divine Mother, whose work he has to accomplish. It is like a line drawn on the water, having no substantiality as we conceive it. It has been compared to fried seed, which is consumable but will not germinate if put in the soil. Again, the Vijnani's ego has been called Dagda Vastra Vabhasa, Dagda Vastra Vabhasa. That is, the Vijnani's ego appears like a piece of burnt cloth. It retains the form of a cloth, but the moment you touch it, it falls into ashes. Such an ego is incapable of any selfish craving. Vidyaranya asks an interesting question. Vidyaranya, a great saint. Suppose you have an itch on your arm. You keep on itching, scratching, because you feel a kind of joy, you may say, though continuously scratching causes irritation. But by using effective medicaments, you have got cured of the ailment. You are no more to scratch. You don't have any itching sensation anymore. Will you again hanker to have the painful pleasure you previously experienced on scratching the itch? The ego of the Vijnani has absolutely no inclination to go after the poisonous pleasures that titillate our nerves. People, not knowing the dangers of the so-called pleasures of the senses, they unknowingly fall victims to these pleasures. They have been called as poisonous pleasures. Poisonous pleasures. The Vijnani is so completely free from pride and prejudice that he claims not even an idea as his own. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna we see this highlighted again and again. When the master's beloved nephew, Akshay, was down with a fever, Sri Ramakrishna happened to remark that the boy would die. Akshay subsequently died. When his other nephew, Hriday, took him to task for saying such an inauspicious thing, why did he say that he would die? Sri Ramakrishna asked, did I want Akshay to die? It is the mother who speaks through me. It is the mother who speaks through me, not I. Again, when Totapuri offered to initiate Sri Ramakrishna in Advaita sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna told him that he would first obtain mother's permission. He literally went to the temple and told Goddess Bhavatarini about Totapuri's offer. It was only when the Divine Mother assured him that she herself had brought the naked one to Dakshineshwar, for this very purpose. Then only Sri Ramakrishna joyfully returned and accepted the initiation. Sri Ramakrishna was indeed so free from personal pride that many of his profound observations he would preface with the words, Krishna Kishore told me. Or he would say, Vaishnavacharan used to say. He would never put forward any idea as his own. The true I is the one who can say with Sri Shankara, who concludes his magnificent Saundarya Lahari with the submission. It is a beautiful composition. There it is said, O Mother, I am adoring you with words that are your own, even as one does tarpan to the ocean with its own water. If we must have pride, let it be the pride of being the Lord's willing instruments. And if we must have prejudice, let it be prejudice in favor of the spiritual values of life. So, the only way, the surest way to overcome the false ego, which is causing so much of misery and suffering in this world, is to sublimate this ego, to feel that I am the servant of God, I am the handmaid of God. God is my master, I am the child of the Divine Mother. These attitudes will help us to keep the ego under control. That means you will not identify yourself as you are doing everything for yourself. You always feel that you belong to the Divine Mother, you belong to the Divine Master, you belong to the Divine Supreme Being. You are just an instrument. You have been given the opportunity to serve the world, to serve the humanity. It's a great privilege that has been offered. And with that humbleness, with that humble attitude, you will be able to conquer ego, and then only you will be able to realize your true I. The true I is none other than the Supreme Being. The Atman is none other than Paramatman. All the waters joining the ocean are none other than ocean. Once the river has merged in the ocean, it is ocean itself. Its identity is merged in the super identity, that is God. So when Atman, the individual consciousness, is bereft of all these coverings, all these 5 sheets which I just described, it becomes clearly free from all these bondages. It is released, as it were, from these coverings, and it gets merged into the Paramatman, and that's the end of the spiritual journey. So till then we have to keep on coming and coming and coming and going and going and going, because always we carry Sthula and Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira. They always come with us. The causal body and the subtle body, they always follow us. Even though a man is dead, he is not literally dead. He is dead in the gross sense. but he is alive in the subtle sense, because his subtle body is there. His subtle body is mind. Mind is full of desires. It wants to do so many things. It has done so many things in its previous lives, and it has to answer all those deeds which the person has done in his previous lives. He can't simply get away doing things in his own way. No. Nobody can escape the law of karma. Good or bad, we have to reap, whatever it is. But if you transform your life, then even though difficulties come, you won't feel them. On the other hand, you feel tremendous strength coming out of your spiritual personality. So, the more and more bodies you take, the more and more you must struggle to become spiritual, more spiritual, strong, more strong. So you must rise up, strength to strength. That means you must build up your spiritual personality to such an extent, then in the final analysis you will be able to realize the truth, and you become one with the Supreme, and you are happy to share that joy with the people who are suffering. Thus we make our life blessed. Mahimacharan said, "Sir, we have so many duties in the world. Where is the time for sadhana?" Sri Ramakrishna said, "Why should you say such a thing? It is you who describe the world as illusory, like a dream." Rama and Lakshman wanted to go to Ceylon, but the ocean was before them. Lakshman was angry. Taking his bow and arrow, he said, "I shall kill Varuna. This ocean prevents our going to Ceylon." Rama explained the matter to him, saying, "Lakshman, all that you are seeing is unreal, like a dream. The ocean is unreal. Your anger is also unreal. It is equally unreal to think of destroying one unreal thing by means of another." Mahimacharan kept quiet. He had many duties in the world. He had lately started a school to help others. Master said to Mahima, "Shambhu once said to me, I have some money. It is my desire to spend it for good works, for schools and dispensaries, roads and so forth." I said to him, "It will be good if you can do these works in a selfless spirit, but it is extremely difficult to perform unselfish action. Desire for fruit comes from nobody knows where. Let me ask you something. Suppose God appears before you. Will you pray to Him then for such things as schools and dispensaries and hospitals?" A devotee asked, "Sir, what is the way for worldly people?" Master said, "The company of holy men. Worldly people should listen to spiritual talk. They are in a state of madness, intoxicated with lust and gold. A drunkard should be given rice water as an antidote. Drinking it slowly, he gradually recovers his normal consciousness. A worldly person should also receive instructions from a Sadguru, a real teacher. Such a teacher has certain signs. He should hear about Benares only from a man who has been to Benares and seen it. Mere book learning will not do. One should not receive instruction from a Pandit who has not realized the world to be unreal. Only if a Pandit has discrimination and renunciation is he entitled to instruct." Samadhyay remarked that God was dry. Think of his speaking like that of him who is the embodiment of sweetness. It sounds like the remark, "My uncle's cowshed is full of horses." All laugh. Yes, a worldly person, he is in a state of intoxication. He always says to himself, "It is I who am doing everything. All these, the house and family, are mine. Baring his teeth, he says, what will happen to my wife and children without me? How will they get along? Who will look after my wife and children? Rakal said one day, what will happen to my wife? Haramohan, did Rakal say that? Master said, what else could he do? He who has knowledge has ignorance also. How amazing! Lakshman said to Rama. Even a sage like Vasishtha is stricken with grief because of the death of his sons. Brother, replied Rama, he who has knowledge has ignorance also. Therefore, go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. Suppose a thorn has pierced a man's foot. He pricks another thorn to pull out the first one. After extracting the first thorn with the help of the second, he throws both away. One should use the thorn of knowledge. Arjun, go beyond the three gunas. In order to attain Vijnana, one has to accept the help of Vidyamaya. Vidyamaya includes discrimination, that is to say, God is real and the world illusory, and dispassion, and also chanting God's name and glories, meditation, the company of the holy persons, prayer, and so forth. Vidyamaya may be likened to the last few steps before the roof. Next is the roof, the realization of God. Worldly people are in a state of chronic intoxication, mad with lust and gold. They are insensible to spiritual ideas. That's why I love the youngsters, not yet stained by lust and gold. They are good receptacles and may become useful in God's work. But as for worldly people, you lose almost everything while trying to eliminate the worthless stuff in them. They are like bony fish, almost all bones and very little meat. Worldly people are like mangoes struck by hail. If you want to offer them to God, you have to purify them by sprinkling them with Ganges water. Even then, they are seldom used in the temple worship. If you are to use them at all, you have to apply Brahmajnana. That is to say, you have to persuade yourself that it is God alone who has become everything. A Theosophist gentleman arrived with Ashwini Kumar Datta and the son of Bihari Bahaduri. The Mukherjee brothers entered the room and saluted Sri Ramakrishna. Arrangements were being made for devotional music in the courtyard. At the first beat of the drum, the master left the room and went there. The devotees followed him. Bhavanath introduced Ashwini to the master. The master introduced him to M. Ashwini and M were talking together when Narendra arrived. Sri Ramakrishna said to Ashwini, "This is Narendra." About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was resting in his room after the midday meal. A pandit was sitting on a mat on the floor. Near the north door of the room stood a Brahmin woman who had recently lost her only daughter and was stricken with grief. Kishori too was in the room. M arrived and saluted the master. He was accompanied by Dvija and a few other devotees. Sri Ramakrishna was not well. He had been suffering from an inflamed throat. There were the hot days. These were the hot days of summer. M was not keeping well either, and of late he had not been able to visit Sri Ramakrishna frequently. Master said to M, "How are you? It is nice to see you. The bell fruit you sent me was very good." M answered, "I am slightly better now, sir." Master, "It is very hot. Take a little ice now and then. I have been feeling the heat very much myself, so I ate a great deal of ice cream. That's why I have this sore throat. The saliva smells very bad." Shall stop here. Questions pouring. Yeah, what happens is when they realize the mind merges into the reality, but then if the person has the desire to help God's mission, then some persons are retained by God Himself so that they can work for the betterment of the humanity. So, even though they are born again, they still are not bound by the way the ordinary people are bound. Even though they are born, they realize their true nature, and they are aware of their reality. So they are not bound by any actions when they mix with people and do their duties. And Sri Ramakrishna himself said, God retains the ego in them, that in order to help the humanity, otherwise they cannot function. But it's a purified, refined ego, refined mind, purified mind. So when they are born with a purified mind. In other cases it's not like that. Normally in our cases, we are getting the mind purified. The mind is not purified enough to realize God. So again and again we are being born with whatever mind state we are born. From that state you have to improve. But in the state of Ishwar Koti, they have realized the summit. For them there is no impurity at all in any manner, but still they have to have mind in order to function. But they come with a purified mind. So that's why they are called Ishwar Kotis. Rupa or Puja? I always call you Rupa, I don't know why. Puja has got some important question to ask. Let we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust are the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. How I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteous rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.